My 7-year-old son, Jack, just exploded into tears in the back seat. I slammed on the brakes, the sudden stop causing our car to swerve slightly on the quiet suburban street. The sun was beginning to set, casting a warm orange glow over the scene, but my attention was focused solely on my distraught child. What happened, buddy? I asked, trying to sound calm, though my own heart was racing with concern. He was sobbing, barely getting the words out. The birthday boy's mom, she said I cheated at dodgeball. His small body shook with each sob, and I could see the tears streaming down his face in the rearview mirror. My mind was racing, trying to piece together what had happened, so I pulled over to the side of the road. The car came to a stop under a tall oak tree, its branches stretching above us like a canopy. I turned around to face Jack, trying to offer a comforting smile. How did you cheat at dodgeball, Jack? I asked, my voice soft and inquiring. He just shook his head, still crying, his blonde hair mussed from the party hat he had been wearing earlier. I don't know, Dad. I just threw the ball and hit someone, and then she said I aimed for their head on purpose. His words were laced with confusion and hurt, and I felt this surge of anger rising up within me. Who accuses a kid of cheating at dodgeball? And what kind of grown-up humiliates a child like that? I took a deep breath, trying to compose myself, and asked Jack to tell me more about what had happened at the party. He sniffled, wiping his nose on his sleeve, and began to recount the events. He told me about the fun he had been having, playing with his friends, eating cake, and running around in the backyard. He dodged a few balls during the dodgeball game, even hit a friend, all part of the game. Then, the mom stepped in, yelling at him, telling him he was out. The other kids were confused, but they watched as he was singled out and shamed. Jack's voice cracked as he remembered the feeling of embarrassment and isolation. As we drove the rest of the way home, Jack continued to cry, and I could feel my own frustration and helplessness growing. When we arrived, I tried to reassure him, to tell him it wasn't his fault, that he didn't deserve that kind of treatment. But I could see the doubt in his eyes, the uncertainty that maybe, just maybe, he had done something wrong. If maybe he had cheated without knowing. It just broke my heart seeing him question himself, his confidence shaken by the harsh words of a stranger. As a parent, it's so hard to watch your kid go through that and not be able to fix it. You want to shield them from the hurt and the pain, to protect them from the cruel words and actions of others. But you can't. All you can do is be there for them, to offer a listening ear and a comforting presence. I hugged Jack tightly, holding him close as he cried, feeling his small body tremble with sobs. The next day, I decided to call the birthday boy's mom. I wasn't looking for a fight, just wanted to understand her side of the story. When she answered, I tried to stay neutral, to keep my tone calm and even. I explained how Jack felt, how he had been hurt by her words, and asked if we could talk about what had happened. She was defensive immediately, her voice rising in response. Insisted Jack had aimed for the kid's head, said she had to step in for safety. I listened, trying not to get worked up, trying to see things from her perspective. But as she spoke, I couldn't help but think about the countless times Jack had played dodgeball, the numerous times he had been hit or had hit someone else. It was just a game, a fun way for kids to run around and be active. I explained to her that, from what Jack said, it sounded like a normal game accident, not something he did on purpose. I emphasized how her actions had made Jack feel ashamed and unsure of himself, how her words had cut deep. There was a pause, a moment of silence, and for a second, I thought we might actually have a real conversation. But then she changed the subject, started talking about how some kids can't handle losing, how maybe Jack needed to toughen up. That's when I knew we were never going to agree. She wasn't interested in Jack's side, in hearing his perspective or understanding his feelings. She just wanted to justify herself, to prove that she had been right to yell at him. I politely ended the call, feeling so disappointed and frustrated. The conversation had been a waste of time, and I was left with a sense of sadness and concern for my child. That evening, at dinner, I told Jack about the call. I explained that sometimes people say or do unfair things, but that doesn't mean we have to agree with them, or let their actions define us. I told him he didn't cheat, that he played like everyone else. What happened wasn't about him, it was about her reaction. Jack looked up at me, his eyes searching, his face still etched with worry. So, it's not my fault, he whispered, his voice barely audible. I smiled and pulled him into a hug. No, buddy, it's not your fault. You played fair. Sometimes things don't go as planned, and that's okay. What matters is how we handle it, and how we treat others. Hugging him, I realized this tough experience was a chance for Jack to learn, to grow, and to develop resilience, about empathy, and understanding, and kindness. He learned that not everyone is always kind, but how we react makes all the difference. And for me, it was a reminder. Be there for him, not just to protect him, but to guide him. Help him grow into someone strong and compassionate. That birthday party incident became a turning point for both of us. It wasn't about dodgeball, or who was right. It was about learning to navigate the world with grace, even when things get tough. And I knew Jack would carry those lessons with him, not as scars, but as strengths.